Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We are so excited here today to talk with Kendall Hale, one of, I think, the most prolific artists in the first chapter, 9 cards, including an enchanted. Kendall, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Love being here with you guys.
Welcome back to the channel.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Okay. So, Kendall, I feel like this question has changed a little bit over the last year. We've gotten to meet all the artists, but just recently, thousands and thousands of people around the world have opened packs of Lorcana cards and seen your art for the very first time. We would love for you to just take a moment to introduce yourself to all of your new fans.
All right, so I'm Kendall. I don't have a nickname. It's just Kendall. I live in Los Angeles, but I'm not native. I'm from Wisconsin, and I've lived all over the place. And I am just a huge Disney animation nerd, and I grew up watching the movies. I have a big family, and we watch Disney cartoons all day, every day, and so I know them like the back of my hand, and I still watch them when the kids are asleep and I got some spare time, and I'm pleased as punch to be part of Lorcana and to have a couple cards that are out and released, and it feels great.
More than a couple, so many.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. So growing up a Disney fan, I mean, what was that feeling like when Ravensburger reached out to you and said, "Hey, we have a Disney project we want you to work on"?
It was nuts, man. It was I was totally blindsided because it was still kind of like coming out of like quarantine and COVID and stuff here in Los Angeles. Everything was shut down like hardcore, and during COVID, I'd kind of gotten into like collectibles and cards a little bit, and I just kind of got excited about them. And then all of a sudden, this Ravenberger was like, "Hey, do you want to work on a card game?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Send me the details. Or, maybe I can do a couple cards for you." And then seeing the brief and seeing like, oh my gosh, this says like Disney branding all over it. Like I didn't even finish the email. I like popped out of my seat and like ran over to my wife. I was like, "Oh, do you want to read this?" And I was beside myself. Like I couldn't sleep that night. I was on top of the world.
I love that. Well, and I know a lot of your background is, you studied animation, you've worked in animation. What was the transition like for you from working in animation and video games into working into kind of more of a physical like card game medium? Was it a different experience from a process perspective or similar?
Yeah, so I do a lot of work in concept design, and it sort of is different because you're working with a lot like smaller, more specific kind of things like, oh, we want you to design a barrel, we want you to design a background character with a specific kind of pants, or like a lot of menial, almost not like meaningless, but like just like a ton of output, right? And then but I was trained in school as an illustrator, and with that I had all the background of like, how do you set up composition, how do you think about the message and the story of an image in its entirety, and how do you balance that with contrast and lighting and classical principles and things like that. And so doing Lorcana like wasn't at all out of my wheelhouse. Doing something like trading cards, I went back and I found an email just recently where a friend of mine said, "Well, you should contact Wizards of the Coast. You'd be great for them." And this was like back in like 2010 when I was still in school. And they said, "Well, you want to give me the introduction? Because I'd love to work for Wizards of the Coast, but they don't really take first year college students that often. But I'd love to do trading cards." And I remember like I said that like over 10 years ago. And now like that's what I get to do. So I mean, not that I've been working my whole life towards this, but it's always been something that's like bucket list for sure.
That's amazing.
That's fascinating.
Sorry, I have another question.
Go for it.
Can you tell us what your earliest memory of creating art was, and at what point did you decide that you wanted to make this your life's work?
Oh man, I always liked drawing because it's what, as a little kid, it's what got me through really long church services. Because I got 5 brothers and sisters, and we're all on this big church bench together, and you sit through some really long talks, a lot of talk. As a little kid, like, what do you do to pass the time? Give me a piece of paper, give me a pencil, and just, I'll make up my own thing. And one of the first things, ironically, one of the first things I ever remember drawing is putting Fantasia up on an old TV and pausing it when it got to the dinosaur part, because dinosaurs were the big thing as Jurassic Park had just come out, and it was all about T-Rexes, and I wanted to draw the T-Rex in Fantasia. And I put a piece of paper on it, and I was like, I'm gonna trace this, and it's gonna look just like the movie. And I traced it, and it looked terrible, because you can't trace over a TV screen that's curved. But that started like, okay, well, how do I make it look like the movie? What do I have to do? And always drawing since then.
That's so cool. It is funny, mentioning church service. Anybody who's been to church, I think, ever has had that experience where you're standing and everybody's standing, and you look in front of you, and there's a kid on their knees, like turned around backwards and drawing on the pew seat rather than paying attention. And it's fun to think that for some of those kids that even I saw growing up, that might have been the start of a career. So you did say you're a huge Disney nerd. What are your favorite Disney films?
Yeah, so if you're talking about like just the story wise, I'm gonna go with Hunchback of Notre Dame, because I love the characters, and I love just the overriding message of it, of what makes a monster and what makes a man, and how the ugly person is overlooked because of just going skin deep, but in reality, everyone that the guy that everyone's supposed to look up to is the real monster because of how he acts and how he behaves, and that duality, and how we should be reminded not to take appearances for granted, and appreciate everybody despite what they look like or how they act. After Hunchback, I mean, just about anything the Renaissance is phenomenal, but then Pinocchio and Fantasia are also two soft spots. I just love like that old look and feel, and the artwork in them. It's amazing.
Hunchback is a bit darker of a film. I do love it.
It's interesting. Before the interview, Kendall, we were talking. All three of us were chatting about kind of like Disney B movies, and I wouldn't necessarily consider Hunchback a B movie because it was a part of that Renaissance era. But it's not Little Mermaid. It's not one of the princess movies.
Yeah.
And so it's so interesting to me. It was that movie was so impactful for me as a kid, and I know for Liam as a kid. It's one of those movies where you feel like you might be the only one that just loved that movie, and I love getting to meet. I feel like recently we've met so many people where they've talked about how impactful Hunchback was on them as like, I guess it's just us 90s kids. Loved Hunchback.
Well, I mean, when it comes to it, it's like, what, I might really love like The Godfather, but do I really want to go around like buying merch of The Godfather? Do I want to own like a whole bunch of pencils with Don Corleone's face on them? Like, that's
maybe cannolis.
Yeah. Yeah, like it doesn't stop it from being like a great film that like can really touch you and like and mean something to you. But it's way more fun to buy something with like Olaf's face on it, or Cogsworth or something like that.
Yeah, and maybe it not being a princess movie is what broke through to so many people, because it almost made it a little bit more relatable, and like there's a grittiness to it, and there's more kind of a reality to it not being one of the tried and true princess movies.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, you talk to people all the time that like they really clung on to like Atlantis or Treasure Planet. And some of that, I think, has to do with the place that you are in your life when those movies come out. Because a lot, like, I was a teenager when Treasure Planet came out, and it's one of the only Disney films that like puts a teenager like up there in the protagonist role.
No, I do think part of it is the themes too. For me as an adult going back, the themes it explores are deep, somewhat dark. And when you look at, I think one of my favorite all-time Disney songs is, I'm going to say the name of the song here because it's the name of the song, but Hellfire is a fantastic song, because as far as villains go, what he's wrestling with and struggling with and who he is, he really bears his soul there, as opposed to some other villain songs like Gaston, Be Prepared even. They're great songs, but they don't tell much about the character's deep, motivation, who they are, where they're bearing their soul. And Frollo in that moment is just exploring what it is to be, I don't know, human in a sense. I don't know.
So, Kendall, one of the things we love to chat with artists about are some of your passion projects and things that you just love to work on in your free time that aren't a part of a job. Some artists create worlds, some artists create a specific character. What are your passions in the art world that you get to explore when you're not on the clock?
Yeah, I was one of the most fun things to do with art outside of work is to just go and sketch out in real life. And whether that's like, I love going to the zoo, and especially, I don't know why, but the gorillas. I love drawing gorillas and rhinos and elephants. And I love just people watching. And people watching in places like the zoo or the airport, or my favorite is Costco. Just sitting down in a good Costco cafeteria with the 59-cent soda, free refills, and just drawing people for hours. As far as projects that are a little more structured than that goes, because that's just to have fun and get loose. But I'm working on a kid's book that I have no idea if I'll ever get to finish it, but it's an ABC book with dinosaurs. It's just kind of fun on the side.
The dinosaurs coming full circle.
Yeah, dinosaurs are kind of a big thing for me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
When you're out, just as somebody who doesn't know how to draw or anything like that, when you're out in public and you're wanting to draw like a portraiture of someone, is it something where when they're like in the Costco checkout line, you're taking a picture of them in your mind's eye and drawing them? Or do you normally have to find someone who's like sitting in the Costco cafeteria for a long period of time for you to be able to draw them? What is your process like there?
Well, so that's one of the great things about the Costco cafeterias. People are prone to sit and eat. And those kind of people that want to eat at the Costco cafeteria, usually they're the kind of people that they have time to kill. You don't see like super busy people say like, well, I'm going to stop at the Costco and get something to eat. It doesn't happen. So those people are usually like, they'll stay sitting and they'll spend some time there, and you can usually like get a good look at them, and they'll stay still for a while. And also everyone, depending on the Costco you go to, but the one I used to go to, the cafeteria was right next to the exit. So no matter who comes in, everyone's got to come out by the Costco cafeteria. So you literally get to see every single customer, even if it's for like a few seconds sometimes. And sometimes those people, you don't always sketch them completely accurately, but you can still get like the most fun pieces and parts of them in your sketch.
That's so fun.
I think that is the most unique place to create art that we have heard.
Yeah.
on all of our artists.
Thank
the Costco
you.
cafeteria, and I love it.
I do. It's slice of life.
Yeah.
It's fun. There's a story that we already know that I want to ask you about again, because what I love about it is, if you're a creative person who's looking to do something with your art, sometimes it is intimidating to put it out there and share it. But by sharing, what you can do and sharing your talent, sometimes that's where opportunities come from. And I love the story of how you, got connected with Ravensburger. So can you describe how you ended up getting on the radar of the art team?
Yeah, sure. So I was working for this company for about 3 years, and things just ended with them. And by working for them for so long, I just I'd lost a lot of connections and a lot of touch with like online presence and social media. And so not having a job, I was like, okay, I got to find work. It's time to build all that back up again. It's time to get followers and likes and get my stuff out there. So you know, months and weeks it just passed by, not a lot of work. So I gotta put out stuff. And one of the memes that was going around at that time was this Disney fan art meme where you pick 6 Disney characters and you poll your audience, who should I draw? And so I took requests, and the 6 characters, 6 male characters and 6 female characters that got the most votes are the ones that I drew. So you know, I had some fun with it, and people were saying like Homer Simpson because Disney Plus had just come out, and then Simpsons were now Disney characters. But you know, I drew Maleficent and Rapunzel and Tiana and Mulan and Jim Hawkins and Cusco and Hades and a couple other guys, and that's how Ravensburger found me. I was in the algorithm. I came up in their searches, and I get this DM from one of the directors saying, "Hey, we're doing this game. Do you want to work on our project?" And you know, I didn't think it was anything at the time because tons of people messaged me for all sorts of weird stuff on Instagram. And so I was like, yeah, sure, you know, here's my email, send me the details, I'll take a look at it, we'll see what happens. And that's when I got an email that said, okay, please see our attached PDF about our project. Okay, what's this all? Oh, yeah, I can do this. I'm into this. Where do I sign? Sign me up. Let's go. Let's do it today. And that's how I got started on Lorcana.
Trading cards, Disney game. Yeah, that's so cool. I just love it because, you know, I don't know. It says something about, you know, the value of, engaging, sharing your art, sharing what, you know, you're passionate about. And then, you know, that's where opportunities come from. I don't know. I love the story.
Yeah. And it speaks to, you know, once again, you know, Ravensburger found so many of the artists that have worked on this project through Instagram and through fan art. And I hope that it encourages, you know, art hobbyists to continue to put their work out there, because you never know who the algorithm is going to choose, and where it could lead. So it's, you know, you're an established career artist, but you know, if there's just a hobbyist out there that's putting their work out and creates something that really speaks to Ravensburger, you know, they don't know who's going to wind up in the DMs.
Yeah, isn't it so wild? I mean, I have to say, like, you know, some of the you don't usually ever get like steady work from social media, but definitely like the more interesting stuff comes through social media. There's such like a wide range of people that find you in that way, because your passion shows usually what you put out in social media, because that's usually the stuff that you do in your spare time. And that, you know, the more passion that people can see in your art, the more they react to it and connect to it themselves.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like, I think, you know, and you're a fan. There's a lot of Disney fan art out there, for example. But I think one of the things about your pieces that probably appeal to them is that you're able to not only, you know, draw the character in a you know, aesthetically pleasing way, but really capture the spirit and the essence of who those characters are, even when the style is slightly different than something that you may have seen before. And I think that's great. And I think all the artists that they've brought on kind of have that same ability to really, you know, visualize who that character is and then convey it even in a new and creative way. For you, what does it feel like to kind of be a caretaker for these characters in a way? To be given a character that exists, that people are fond of, that they're fans of, and then have to do something with it. Because there's a lot of trust there, I feel like.
Specifically with Mickey, I mean, probably the most
Mickey
iconic character of all time, to be a caretaker of him and portray him in a...
Yeah, no pressure, right? Yeah, it's, you know, part of me is like, oh, you know, it's really humbling and it's really gratifying. And then the other part of me is like, it's just so much fun. It's so much fun to be given these characters and to be able to try and create something new and different with them. I mean, you don't see Mickey like running around in like this sneaky hood with this magic wand, like trying to poke stuff in any of the movies. I get to tell that story. I get to be a part of that story. I get to hint at what he's feeling and how he moves in that costume and in that context. I get to decide that, and not 100% because the game still needs to say like, no, this is part of this. We need to be able to fit this into the game and everything. But that's being a part of a creative process that really is fulfilling to me. And so getting to take care of the characters, like I never feel like that's a preoccupation. It's an honor, like it's a great feeling, but it never like worried me. It was never like, oh, I got to do justice to the fans. It was like, no, like I get to bring this to the table. I get to show my take on this to the fans, and I think they're gonna like it.
We always end our artist interviews with a series of questions from our Proust questionnaire. They're a lot of fun. First thing that comes to your head, even if they're different than answers that you've had before. So if you don't mind, we'll go through these.
Nobody's gonna watch these next to each other, so it's fine. Okay.
Yeah. If you don't mind, we'll go through these again.
What sound or noise do you love?
I love a really good electric guitar solo. When I'm like banging away in art, or like maybe not banging away, when I'm like feeling kind of sluggish and like, oh man, like I just need like a good like hit of energy to just like jolt me out of this slump and like get me going, I put on something with like a crazy guitar solo, like a Queen song or Lynyrd Skynyrd or something like that, and then it's just like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to do this. Rage Against the Machine, yeah. I love that energy, and I feel like it gets into my work,
boosts you.
Yeah,
I love it. What sound or noise do you hate?
Styrofoam. Styrofoam is the worst. Just like seeing it like makes me think of the sound that it makes when someone touches it, and it just makes me so squirmy and uncomfortable. Hate it.
Squeaky, scrapey sound.
Yeah.
What is your idea of happiness?
Yeah, so my idea of happiness is that happiness comes from really three things, and that is your relationships with other people, the people that you love and the people that support you, family and friends, your accomplishments, the things that you create and the places you go and things you can say that you've done, and then the service that you give to other people, the nice things that you do without expecting anything in return.
That's wonderful.
That's what makes people happy.
Perfect. Who is your favorite hero in fiction?
Favorite hero in fiction is the brave little toaster, and it's such a weird movie, and I will readily admit that, but I love the brave little toaster, and I love his journey of just becoming a better person. I think it's so like down to earth and honest, and he's my favorite little hero.
Love that movie.
I
used to love Blanky. Who is your favorite heroine in fiction?
My favorite heroine is from Secret of Nim, and it's Mrs. Frisbee. Or it's Mrs. Brisby in the movie. I think that everyone wants to feel like a strong female character needs to be, big buff and take no guff from any guys, or just have complete control. And everything that she is in that movie is I will face any fear, even if I most certainly am going to die in order to save my family and protect my kids. And it's just beautiful. You don't see that very often.
Yeah, I love it. Don Bluth for the win.
Yeah.
What talent would you most like to have?
Oh, what talent? What I most like to have? I wish that I could just be in a room with people and just talk to anybody and everybody without thinking about it. And I could just like not have any kind of like social anxiety with you. That's a talent that I really wish I had. Like, just, yeah, I can get a little bit shy, and it's always kind of bothered me.
That's so much. I know we talked about this in the live interview, but you come across as so like confident and comfortable and like socially engaging, like through the screen. It's just hard to believe. Just hard to believe.
Yeah, it's totally different when it's like one-on-one or one-on-two, or just a small group of 3 or 4 people. Totally different. As soon as you start like putting in more people than that, it's like, well, I don't want to step on anyone else's toes. I'm probably not as interesting as this person or that person. I'd rather just listen.
Yeah, interesting.
What is your most treasured possession?
My most treasured possession is I went to the 30th anniversary of the Brave Little Toaster screening, and I got an animated cell from the movie, and the original voice actress of the toaster was there, and I had her sign it for me. And yeah, I have it in my safe place in my closet, locked away.
I love it. What are your favorite names?
Favorite names. So last time you guys asked me this, I told you about a character I made up called MC Box Spring, and I thought that was pretty good. There also there's an old like video series that some guy did like this dub over of Harry Potter, and he starts naming the teachers in his like made up little wizard world, and one of them is Zumacroom, and I always thought that was like a really funny name. They just call someone Zumacroom.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to look that up.
Yeah, that was what's her name, the broom teacher. It's funny.
What is your motto?
My motto is, I picked this up from a bus driver when I was a little kid, just on like a random school field trip. He brought us all back safe and sound to the school, and he goes, "All right, kids, we'll see you later. Just remember, if you want to be successful, make it your goal. Keep your eye on the donut and not on the hole." And yeah, so that's a pretty good message to live by.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that it was a school bus driver that gave you your life's motto.
so wise.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna say again, it just occurs to me like when I hear stories like that, like that bus driver probably didn't think anything of that moment, probably forgotten, like the next day. Like, isn't it amazing, like these little moments that become like core memories that you can pick up and talk about in an interview, like, a bajillion years later.
Oh yeah.
And for everybody else in that moment, that's just an innocuous moment, and for you, it sticks.
It was also like my high school senior yearbook little quote under my picture, so yeah, kind of helped me keep it with me. So
I love it. Well, it got you a job working on Disney characters, so.
And yeah, and here I am today. I kept my eye on the donut.
Is it my turn?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I'm sorry. What is one question that we didn't ask you that you wish we would have?
Well, this time around, yeah, I don't know, man. Shoot, I should have came up with something for this. I have no idea. Now
Right?
I'm drawing the blank now.
I'm sure you didn't expect round 2. I mean, is any stories you're dying to tell? Any I don't know. Anything you're a fan of that you want to talk about?
Oh man.
The answer can also be no.
Okay.
If you have nothing, I have a backup question, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. Yeah. So okay. So here you go. So I think when it comes to art, whether it's like the Lorcana cards or like the kind of art that I do anyway, not like all art, but like what do I find enjoyable in art? It's not just getting people's likes and people's reactions. That's incredibly validating, and I love it. It is telling a story. And originally I was a little starstruck in high school. I wanted to be an actor. I kind of wanted to be famous, and I wanted that attention and that gratification. And when I got to college, I met with a counselor that asked me, to get to know me and kind of analyze me. And she said, well, look, you're into film, you're into acting, and you're into art, and you say you want to be an actor, but what all of these things really point to is you want to tell stories. And when she said that, it was like the Matrix, when you're seeing like the numbers in the walls and everything, when you're like, oh, now I see, like everything makes sense. Because it wasn't about acting. It wasn't even about like art. It was like, I have this desire in me to tell stories. And if I can tell a story in an image, whether it's drawing Mickey Mouse swinging from the ceiling, or any other weird thing that I draw, and someone else can look at that and get the story and get what I'm trying to get across, and I communicate that to them, like that's what's fulfilling to me in art. That's why I do it. That's what I love about it.
That's amazing. Perfect. That's why we asked that question, because people say amazing things.
Perfect
thanks.
ending.
Kendall, thanks so much for taking the time to meet with us again after a live stream the other night. This was a true pleasure. Can't wait to see more of your cards come out. How can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, so I'm at Kendall Hale Art, and I'm on the Twitter and the Tumblr and the Facebook and the Instagram and the DeviantArt. I'm all over the place. Just at Kendall Hale Art. Come find me. Come be friends with me. Say hi.
Everybody go follow Kendall, say hi. And Kendall, thanks again. This was a treat.
Thank you guys for having me. It's so much fun to talk to you.